and then we can lay them all out on a green flock mat, wear our best cut-off T-shirts and 80s wigs and pose like Brian Ansell. Welcome back to session 2 of our Tale of Four Gamers progress. We've all been pushing through the armies and they're starting to look pretty good. Still no idea when we'll actually play, which is obviously a massive bonus. That way we might actually get the armies done in time. So we're approaching that middle part of every big army project where mostly it's just putting paint on models at this stage. However, this middle section can be a bit dull for everyone. So in order to make things interesting, Ben, the event organizer, came up with an extra challenge. He bought one of those Wheel of Fortune style spinny clicky wheel things that you could write your own subjects on. The Wheel of Mystery has written on it all sorts of different model types, from single individuals to pieces of scenery. And the challenge is to spin it and then paint one of those in a way that integrates somehow with the rest of your army. I think Ben was just trying to find a use for an impulse purchase, but it does add a weird little extra thing in the middle of the campaign, probably just when we need it. So each of us took on the challenge. In this video, we'll catch up with everybody at once. We'll find out how their armies progressed and then what they got from the Wheel of Mystery. This time round, I've started painting. I undercoated the entire collection first in grey auto primer and then in Army Painter fur brown primer. I want to make sure the paint stays on as it's an entirely metal army. The fur brown is a bit redder than the one I was intending to use, which is probably quite appropriate. It is corn after all. I then broke out the airbrush and the extractor and I started a series of highlights. First with Bugman's Glow from all over to fill in any gaps the fur brown had missed. It's a really reddish skin tone, so it works quite well over the brown, but it wasn't as bright as it needed to be. Because of the oil filter, they're going to need to be a shade or two lighter than the end colour I want. So I then went over with 2 zenithal highlights. First, Minotaur bronze flesh all over from the top, and then a final little touch of wraithbone around the faces. I then used a brush to block in the red on the swords and highlighted up with a mixture of Vallejo orange and then Avalon sunset for the yellow tips. They kind of look a bit like ice lollies right now, but when the filter's on and there's other colours on the model, I think that'll come down a bit. Also, I haven't sped this video up, it's exactly as quick as it looks. Each layer took about 5 or 6 seconds per model, and I've got around 80 models to do. I roughly airbrush blocked in the scales on all the flesh hounds with Minotaur Angelic Blood. So after this I'm going to move on to brush painting. The plan is to block in the horns, teeth and claws with contrast Black Templar, the sword hilts and jewellery with various of the Vallejo liquid metal range, and give them some red details, eyes and tongue. I really hate brush painting, so the next month is definitely going to feel the longest. Right, that's my progress. Let's see what everyone else has been doing. Hi everyone. I guess welcome back to what is, I'm calling session 2. I think this is officially session 2. In a bit we're going to talk about the Wheel of Mystery that Ben broke out this week. So we can talk about that afterwards. But first, let's just go through and see what everyone's got. It's been 3 or 4 weeks since the last update. Gary, how are you doing? What have you managed to get painted?
Yeah, so I've got my base colors are all down on the block of Fimir warriors. I've got basic washes done for all the skin, armor, and 10 are halfway through. The next 8 are almost finished, and I've got one guy, pretty much the test model, done.
Brilliant. What's the difference between the level they're at the minute and that one guy being done?
Just going in and tidying up in between the armor and getting sort of washes in here and there.
Last time we spoke, you just finished rolling out with clay your bases. They're all done, all finished?
Yeah, that's all finished. That was done pretty quickly with a lot of washes and dry brushing, and then some different static grasses stuck on and some little flowers.
So I really like the bases. They look really nice with the little flowers there, and then you've got these horrible grizzly monsters wandering around stamping on flowers and stuff. The bases look really good.
That's just like a day in the swamp for any Fimir.
Yeah.
Wandering around, stamping on flowers.
Got to the bit now where I'm not sure if I'm going to make the armor all really battered and tarnished, or if I go the other way and make it really shiny so they're like noble warriors.
What have you got at the moment on the test model? I can't remember.
I've dulled it down with some apothecary white, which was just to put this sort of layer over the silver to make it less shiny.
Yeah, apothecary white I've used a bit. It's like a sort of really pale translucent grey colour, isn't it?
I've used basilicanum grey on armour, and that's quite good, but I hadn't thought to use apothecary white on armor. I might give that a go myself on something and see how it looks, see if I like the way it looks.
I find Basilicanum, it's a very good for getting very dark armor tones, but I haven't, I'd have to give Apothecary White a go as well. That does sound like an interesting thing for getting like very bright but still shaded armor.
Are you using Basilicanum as a wash, or are you using it as the colour of the armour?
It works really well as a thick wash, so it doesn't go all the way into the recesses the way it would with like Nuln Oil or something.
Is that the same as you're doing, Bobbie?
Yeah, I'm kind of using it almost like a wash and a glaze all in one pass.
What's next on the plate, Gary? What's after this?
Yeah, once the warriors are all done, then it's straight to HQ. Get my noble on top of a dragon done.
Brilliant. What about you, Russ? How have you been doing?
So it's weird. I feel like I've done a lot, but don't feel like I've actually made a lot of progress. The Chaos Warriors, I've got some of them, 5 of them finished apart from giving them a varnish. And then I've got another 5 sort of ongoing. And then I've got a standard bearer that I've just moved his sword to another hand. And I need to sculpt. I'm going to sculpt a banner for that. I'm quite proud of the musician. But the main thing is I've got my Marauders pretty close. They're all prepped and ready to paint. A couple of them painted so far. And I've been playing around with Marauder Horsemen, converting old Chaos Knights, the non-lance wielding first edition ones, so that they've got flails, so I can use them as Marauder Horsemen instead. And that was most of yesterday spent doing that job. So
more chopping up of priceless old models.
Yeah, it was quite a difficult one to bring myself to do, actually. Hang on, I'll just get one of them in shot for a second. So these old guys, I was struggling with the idea of actually taking the steps I did that you can see with turning it into a flail there. What I realized was actually I'm still using all of the parts of the model. So if ever I had an urgent desire to strip them and sell them, I could still just put get rid of the chainy bit, put the top of the mace back on and pretend it had never been damaged in the first place. But I can't see that I'll ever sell them anyway, so I don't think I ever will. Yeah, I've also been converting other Chaos Marauders to make them into standard bearers, converting Chaos Warriors. So it's a lot of, more old priceless models that I've been demolishing. But I'm quite pleased with the results from them. I think if you can sort of do a conversion which is appropriate to the model and get some use out of an old model, then I think it's better to do that than have them sitting in a cupboard, sort of wait until the day you sell them on eBay.
What about you, Bobbie? How have you been doing?
Yeah, I've been plodding along, getting a bit distracted with other projects, but I've put another 35 zombies together, which is a few. There was a lot of mold lines scraping again, and I've got 20 of those most of the way painted. So
it's just, oh god, they're all the old pattern zombie models.
They're the plastic ones that have just recently, I think, gone out of production. Yeah,
I think they've released. Yeah, the new ones came out since we recorded last.
Well, they've been announced. I don't think they're on the way to being. Okay. I'll be quite glad to not have to ever make any more of them again. But but that's because I've now got 55 zombies, and I think that's more than enough for anyone.
So I was going to ask that, actually, how many are you going to include all of them in the army, or are you just having extra in case you accidentally raise a load or something, or what?
There's 40 in the actual army list, and then 15 just in case I happen to raise more before most of the units gone.
I'm doing my spawn at the moment, sort of just in case I accidentally turn someone else's model into spawn.
It's useful to have these extra models on the side. Yeah. I mean, I've got a unit of 10 skeleton cavalry that are not, like, I don't have them in the army list, but I've got the models now because I bought them as part of a trade. Yeah, I got them as part of a trade, so I'm going to get them built up at some point, I'm sure.
Well, I think as well, the way the rules of the campaign work, we don't have to use the same army from game to game anyway. So I've already got the idea that maybe when I'm playing against your undead, I don't want 20 marauders in my army because they'll run away. That might be a time to put in my 5 unbreakable, fearless spawn.
What's next for you, Bobbie?
Once I've got those all done and painted, I think I'm going to work on doing some more fun conversions. I want to build some bat swarms, kind of all flying out of graves and over the top of like a graveyard. And I have got loads of that kind of terrain bits and pieces from the sprues. So
once all those zombies are done and the skeletons, is that kind of the bulk of the core troops of the army done? Is it fun stuff after that?
I still have one more regiment. I have a regiment of Graveguard to make and paint up, but that's only another sort of 15 models. So yeah, another 20 odd models to paint after this, and then I can start doing characters and fun things.
So how have
you been doing with your progress, Ian?
Yeah, same as everyone, I think. It's that weird point in any of these where we're all sort of just plodding along and trying not to get distracted. I've been doing base layers. So when we last spoke, I'd assembled them all and airbrushed them all. I've now gone through and basically put down all the base colors. So they've got black horns, pink tongues, red eyes. And then I went through with the Vallejo liquid copper, which is a really, really nice alcohol-based copper paint that goes on in one coat and covers whatever. And then I went over the top. I tried out a few different sorts of gold and went over the top with a sort of antique gold mix. They've all basically had all their normal colors done on all the blood letters and on the bloodthirster. And I've just started on the dogs, which I reckon I'll have done by the end of next week. So the Wheel of Mystery. So Ben came up with this idea for the Wheel of Mystery, which I think's well placed in the whole of this to sort of give everyone a boost. I thought this was all going to be in the 5th edition Warhammer world. I was quite surprised to see like scenery and 40k models and things on there. I think everyone's on the same page of trying to figure out how to incorporate it into what they're already doing. What do you all think? It all seems like a fun thing to do. Gary, what did you get?
Yeah, so I got paint a Necromunda model or paint a hero.
Okay. I'm imagining a Necromunda model's quite hard to incorporate in this.
Yeah, so
does that just handily tie into what you were going to do anyway?
Well, if you count the war boss as a hero, then yeah. I've got the 3 extras, which are going to be like unit champions and stuff. So I could do the unit champion. That would count as a hero. Do what you were going to do with your Lord on a Dragon and maybe throw in another hero? Yeah. In 5th edition, you have to have him on foot. So I've also got the foot version could count. Oh, of course, because he might get undragoned. Yeah. If someone turns it into a spawn. Oh, and you've got 2 Fimir nobles to convert from, right? Yeah. So whatever I do to the guy on the dragon, I'll just do the same thing to the guy on the floor. Okay. So walking around with the same weapon. Okay, so yours integrates very nicely. What about yours, Russ?
I was hoping to get the 40k model as my role, but that didn't come to pass. I instead rolled, first of all, Mage, which was a bit like, I'm going to do that anyway, or I was probably just going to use my models from the 90s. But my second role was a third-party model. So I just got the box ready to hold the box up and show. I bought every model from all 3 of the Pantheon of Chaos Kickstarters. So I figured I should probably paint one of them for it. And I figured to make my choice a bit easier, because otherwise, that's just one of the bags of models, and there's about 6 bags about that size in there. I might as well do both things and do a mage from the Pantheon of Chaos Kickstarter. Okay. So I've got 3 choices, and I'm probably going to do one that's a more modern update of the old Hero Quest villain sorcerer dude. Yeah.
Who is either called Morcar or like Zargog or something, depending if you're American or not.
Yeah.
Never played Hero Quest.
Really?
Played Advanced Hero Quest.
Nah, it's not the same.
No, I know.
What did you roll, Bobbie?
My first spin was War Machine. I still don't have a black coach model, so I'm going to have to pass on that. My second spin was this piece of scenery. I think I'm going to cheat a little bit and use the modern Garden of Moor tombs and whatnot, because I happen to have some already made up. It's going to be a case of finding a colour scheme I like for them and get those painted. If I'm playing sort of a home game, defending a territory, I might put them out. There's a bit of flavour scattered terrain.
Can you still get Gardens of Moor?
Is that the one that got rebranded as like a mausoleum or something?
Sigmarite Mausoleum or something,
Mausoleum,
right?
the one that came on the front of Conquest magazine.
Mortal Realms, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Mortal Realms.
I did 2 rolls as well. First I rolled scenery. And while I've got some scenery, it's all just like hills, and it's nothing I could incorporate really with this. Like if it was 40k, I've got like a Doom Bagel. Like a Death Polo, whatever that thing's called that 40k Chaos Space Marines have. Evil Stargate.
The Noctilith.
That's the one.
Something.
Evil Stargate.
Okay. Yeah.
But it doesn't really work for a 40k. It doesn't really work for a Warhammer army. So then I rolled and I got 40k model. I pretty quickly came up with a cunning plan. So if you remember the old Chaos Corn Lord on Juggernaut, those were going really cheap on eBay. So I got 3 of them so that my old 90s Bloodletter army could have some old 90s Blood Crushers. I was going to convert up 3 riding Blood Crushers out of spare Bloodletters and then stick them on these old chunky metal Juggernauts. That means though that I do still have one complete Chaos Lord that sits on them. So I could paint him as my 40k model, don't glue him to the Juggernaut, and I'll then have a Juggernaut ready for putting a Bloodletter on in this army. I got a bit of a head start, but obviously, again, like a lot of these armies, the process of painting my pink Chaos Space Marines, like there's a lot of big steps that require a bit of setup. It's really, really fast when you're painting a batch, but it's a lot of messing around when you're painting one model. I thought, well, maybe I'll do a few Berserkers to go with him. I've only got a few Berserkers. Maybe I'll expand that. I've got all these bits. I'll assemble those. So I might have got a bit carried away and accidentally assembled like 15 or 16 Berserkers, 5 Khorne Terminators, and Zoofor. It's only about 20 models.
Absolutely classic Ian.
Save time painting one model by painting 20 models instead.
Exactly.
Oh dear.
If you're going to get the airbrushing booth out and plug everything in and get it all set up, I'm not going to do it for one guy who takes 30 seconds.
That is fair.
I got a bit carried away, and it looks like in order to fulfill my April batch of 1 Chaos Marine, I'm going to be painting a little Khorne detachment. Well, there we go. Everyone's made a little bit of progress, and now we've all definitely got a massive, interesting diversion to paint before 2 weeks. I guess we'll keep going. Obviously, as I'm sure everyone knows by now, everyone's got their own blogs on Twitter and Instagram. We'll just push through and see where we are in a few weeks' time.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.